Seek God Now. Lecture by Paramahansa Yogananda, July 15th, 1941. God realization is attained only by great effort on the part of the yogi and by divine grace. Though God can be approached by law, still, as the searcher of hearts, he must be convinced that a devotee really wants him before he sends his grace. God withholds final illumination from a devotee. However perfected he may be in the science of yoga, who does not wholeheartedly desire him. I recall a time in the ashram of my guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, when month after month, with the greatest devotion, I was seeking God, yet I was experiencing a sort of stagnation. When I questioned Master about my problem, he said, "You think that if you had more mental power or more miracle power, you would recall more fully that God is with you. But that is not so. Suppose he responded by giving you control over the whole universe. Possession of such a power would leave your heart still unsatisfied. God is the ever-new joy you already feel in meditation. When man loves that joy above everything else in this world, desiring it more than money and fame, more than his indulgences in moods and habits and sensory experiences, God will open the way. Few devotees are prepared to make such sacrifices. It is at once very easy and very hard to please God. He is playing with his devotees even in tests, and he tests them all the time. How easy it is to pack the day with foolishness, and how difficult to fill it with worthwhile activities and thoughts. Yet God is not so much interested in what we are doing as in where the mind is. Everyone has a different difficulty, but God doesn't listen to any excuses. He wants the devotee's mind to be engrossed in him in spite of any troublesome circumstances. Even as I am engaged in talking to you now, my mind is ever on God. I am with him inwardly all the time. I live in his joy, loving and craving naught else but that joy. I find that all obstacles to God union give way before me. This declaration is not a fairy tale, it is true, but not until God has received all of the devotee's love will he come. It will seem that he has forsaken us sometimes, but such tests are inescapable. If we steadfastly refuse to give up our search, God receives us as his own. In worldly ambitions, there's always an element of uncertainty. Some people spend year after year trying wholeheartedly but unsuccessfully to make money. But in the spiritual path, no wholehearted devotee is ever unsuccessful. His labors are never in vain. Keep a daily appointment with God. Let no devotee miss his daily appointment with God. The mind may suggest the movies or some other distraction, but when the time comes for God each day, keep that sacred engagement. Otherwise, you will be a long time finding him. There is a personal element in the search for God that is more important than mastery over the whole science of yoga. the Heavenly Father wants to be sure that His children desire only Him, that they will not be satisfied with anything else. When God is made to feel that He is not first in the devotee's heart, He stands aside. But to him who says, "O Lord, it matters not if I lose sleep tonight, so long as I am with Thee," He will come. Positively from behind the countless screens of this mysterious world, the ruler of creation will come forth to reveal Himself behind each one. He talks to His true devotees and plays hide and seek with them. Sometimes He suddenly unveils a comforting truth when one is worried. In time and in direct or indirect ways, He grants every wish of His devotee. Fulfillment of a particular desire seems necessary only if one lacks conviction that he can find perfect fulfillment in God. One who is at peace in God is not tortured by unfulfilled earthly desires. Taking shelter in Me, all beings can achieve the supreme fulfillment. No one can hurt me by thwarting me in some outward matter, because to me, God is sufficient. His joyous presence is the only conditioning factor in my happiness. Each of you should try resolutely to meditate and to feel His presence, and see how quickly you will become aware of His favor. The world worships men of power, like Alexander the Great and Napoleon. But think of their mental states. Then think of the peace that Christ had. His peace could not be taken away from Him. We think we will seek that peace tomorrow. Anyone who reasons this way will never find it. Seek it now. We do not neglect eating and our other duties to the body. They are very important to us. But one who loves God intensely loses all worry about the body. This is what Jesus meant when He said, "Take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, neither for the body, what ye shall put on." Not until you feel in your consciousness the absolute importance of God will you reach Him. Do not permit life to cheat you. Form those good habits that make for true happiness. Follow a simple diet, exercise the body, and meditate daily. No matter what happens, rain or shine. If you are unable to exercise and meditate in the morning, do it at night. Pray to Him every day, "Lord, even if I die, or if the whole world crumbles away, I'm going to find time daily to be with Thee." Who is interested in God alone? Very few. Most people want to talk about spirits and miracles and so on. But he who knows God will be told by Him everything he has ever wanted to know. Kriya Yoga, highest method of God contact. Kriya Yoga is the highest method of God contact. In my own search for God, I have traveled all over India and heard wisdom from the lips of a number of the greatest masters. I can therefore vouch for the fact that in self-realization, teachings are the highest truths and scientific techniques given to mankind by God and the Great Ones. The after effects of Kriya brings with them the utmost peace and bliss. The joy that comes with Kriya is greater than the joys of all pleasurable physical sensations put together. Unattracted to the sensory world, the yogi experiences the ever-new joy inherent in the self. Engaged in divine union of the soul with spirit, he attains bliss indestructible. From that joy experienced in meditation, I receive the rest of 1,000 sleeps. Sleep becomes virtually unnecessary to the advanced Kriya Yogi. When by Kriya Yoga the devotee enters Samadhi, wherein his eyes, breath, and heart are quieted, another world comes into view. Breath, sound, and movement of the eyes belong to this world, but the yogi who has control of the breath may enter the heavenly astral and causal worlds and commune there with God's saints, or enter cosmic consciousness and commune with God. The yogi is not interested in anything else. Whoever will give less importance to everything else, remembering what I have said, will get to God without fail. Everyone must eventually get there. But what is the use of my telling these truths to you unless you practice them? My loving attention on you is not wanting, but even if I were to remind you each day of these truths, they would not help anyone who does not himself make the effort to practice meditation. No one is greater than God, enthroned in the heart of every man, yet even He does not force us to seek Him. He has given us free will, but he who follows a true guru and keeps faith with him by adhering to his instructions will transform his whole life. Comprehending that wisdom from a guru, thou wilt not again fall into delusion. To find God, be loyal to God. It is easy to see in a person's face whether or not he is a lover of God. True devotees may be called fanatical in their devotion to Him. The only right kind of fanaticism is loyalty to God. Night and day, thinking of Him. Without this kind of loyalty, it is impossible to find God. Those who never miss Kriya and who sit long in meditation and pray intensely to God will discover the longed-for treasure. This world is but a dream. Just as in the movies, there is no essential difference between the ocean and the sky, which are simply two different rates of light vibration. So it is in this world. Sorrow and joy, pain and pleasure, cold and heat are but dreams of this world. The Lord is the only reality. We should always pray that no test or temptation will ever have the power to make us forget Him. When I pray thus, I receive more results than at any other time. Then, even if something very serious comes to divert me, I nevertheless see immediately that I am safe in His arms. It is difficult to know Him. The path to God is like a razor's edge, but discouragement is never justified because we don't have to acquire or win anything. We have only to realize that God is already within us. That is why negativeness should be completely put out of one's mind. Cooperating with the Guru's thoughts makes the path easy. If the disciple says, "I can't do this. It is too hard for me," he is held back. No one has entangled us in moods and habits and desires but ourselves. And no one but ourselves will free us. Keep a diary of your spiritual life. I used to make a record of how long I had meditated daily and how deep I had gone. Seek solitude as much as possible. Do not spend your leisure in mixing with people for merely social purposes. God's love is hard to find in company. The Lord is discovered in silence, and Kriya shows you the way. To establish God consciousness in the souls of men is my great interest. I see that everything else is futile. The one purpose of Self-Realization Fellowship is to teach the individual the way to personal contact with God. Those who make the effort cannot miss Him. Make a solemn promise in your heart and pray to the Father that He bless you with the haunting desire to find Him, that you may not waste any more time in the useless diversions of this earth. Pray to the Father. As we are bound by thy laws of creation to work, may we perform our duties only to please thee. Bless us every moment that we realize thou art more important than eating or sleeping or anything else. Bless us that we be able to meet thy tests and to avoid the terrible temptations of the flesh. May we all, thy princely children, be diademed in thy bosom. And my prayer for each of you is that from today, you will make a supreme effort for God, and that you never give up until you are established in Him. If you love Him, you will practice Kriya with the greatest devotion and faithfulness. Continuously seek Him through prayer and Kriya Yoga. Be a good cheer, for as Babaji once said, quoting from the Bhagavad Gita, even a tiny bit of this real religion protects one from great fear. The colossal sufferings inherent in the repeated cycles of birth and death. Excerpts from the book Man's Eternal Quest by Paramahansa Yogananda.